statements because she made the statement, not you guys. Please don't jump in to try to save her life.
Can I say something? Just for an instant.
She's a more educated woman. She can understand on her own. She can respond on her own. This conversation was between me and her. Amir, don't worry about her. She'll be fine.
Can I say something? Can I say
Go
something?
Go ahead.
My grandfather, my great-grandfather was a Palestinian, originally Jew, who moved from Palestine to Egypt because of the oppression the Zionists even did for the Jews in Palestine. Look at that. And just a second, we have a map. We used to have a map of our...
Amir, you're hearing this? Zionists apparently oppressed the Jews also. Zionists oppressed the Jews.
That's true. Liars.
Germany, what do you think?
This is the pro-Palestinian movement at its finest. Zionists oppress everything and everyone.
We have a document.
Wait, do you think Zionists are Jews' friends? You're so...
Oh my God, we have documents of our land in Atlas. We have home, our key home for our grandfather house. We still have it. We have coins in that time that they used to have. They have their currency, they have their culture, they have their original ethnicity, and you guys came and stole everything. If I'm gonna be correct, is Yakub, the guy who stole Mona's house in Sheikh Jarrah, he just came from Brooklyn, New York, and he told her, oh, if I didn't steal it, someone else is gonna steal it. Does that guy belong to the land? Any other Zionist around in any part of the world can claim the land, come to Israel and take a land and take a house from the government. That house belonged to a Palestinian family. This is what occupation is actually called. If you don't know, it is occupation. They are called settlers. They are not called original inhabitants of the land. And let me correct you about one thing. I don't even believe in the one-state solution. I don't believe that if someone comes and took my land and then someone took my house and he's living in that house and for generations he has lived there and gave birth there for different generations, and then I have to worry where is this son going to go? I can't leave my home because there are people there who didn't do that occupation, but they lived there peacefully, so they belong to the land. That house belongs to me, that land belongs to me, and those people who grew up in that country, they have original homes, they have multiple nationalities that they can go to. They have more than one language, they have more than one ethnicity. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. You do not belong to the land. I do more than you.
Okay, Rofeda, did you say your grandpa was a Jew?
Yeah.
Okay, when did your grandpa live in Palestine?
He grew up in Palestine until
When? Give me the year.
He left after the Nakba.
So what year was your grandfather born?
I think 1950.
1950. Okay. So let me make sure I understand. His father was a Jew?
Yes.
And his father's father was a Jew?
Yes. And I have it.
And they were living in Palestine?
Yes.
Oh, guys, what happened?
I think you're
guys.
I think
This goes back to my thank you, Rofeda. Wait, Rofeda, I was quiet. Whoa, what is going on? Relax. This is given proof that the ancient Israelites, the kingdoms were there for the last 3,000 years, and even after the destruction of the Second Temple, Jews remained living in the land, and Rofeda is proof of that. Rofeda, thank you. Thank you. Mazel tov.
just a second.
Amir, you just heard it. Jews were living in Palestine for centuries.
Bro, respectfully, my speakers are about to pop, bro. Respectfully, can I ask you a couple questions?
Thank you so much. Thank you for your honesty. Thank you for acknowledging that your ancestors were Jews. They were in the land prior to 1948. You just destroyed the Palestinian argument for everybody. I didn't even need to lift up a finger. I didn't even need to say anything.
You ignorant fuck. They are Palestinians. You don't understand.
I never denied it. I don't know. When did I deny it?
Let me hear from
I
your
never
mouth.
denied it.
You have been
Denied it.
living.
No. You
Jason,
think
can
Jewish
I have your version too? You moved. You got kicked out of Iran. You never lived over there.
religion. Being Jewish is a religion.
Guys, I
Jason.
love all of you. You really make my stomach.
Don't put us all on
Jason,
Jason, I want to ask you a few questions. I want to know as a non.
Okay, let's take turns now. I think Carrie wants to ask some questions. Savannah, you can go after Carrie if you like.
You had a woman here literally prove my point to all of you that the
Bro, you're
January
acting
was
like
wrong.
He denies
Prior
it.
to Palestinians.
Oh my God.
Jason,
Funny person.
you're acting weird, bro. I want to ask
Nobody
you.
denied that the Jews did not live on that land. Nobody. Oh my God.
Didn't you say, no, but we were talking about this. 1929, discrimination. We never denied it.
I
That was
want
never denied. So I don't know why you're fucking laughing like a fucking dumb.
Never denied it, bro. Less than 5%
No
of the
shit.
Jews lived on that land. I don't get it. Like, this guy is retarded as fuck.
Yeah, bro, you gotta chill with this.
Carrie, it's on you now. This fucker, I have to keep muting this fucker, man. This fucking Jason piece of shit.
Jason, I wanted to ask you a few questions, just out of curiosity, because I really want to know. I'm new to this entire thing. So I want to ask you a few questions. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, but Carrie, did you just hear what happened? Were you listening?
I have absolutely no idea
Michelle,
about it.
Okay.
please keep your voice low.
Wait. Okay, senza eccoci, bisogna poi avanti. Yes,
You're
yeah,
loud.
Carrie,
You're literally
Carrie.
loud. My husband
Okay,
is asleep.
Carrie,
Yeah,
Carrie, you said you're tuning in. I just want to tell you what happened. It'll take me 1 minute.
Are recapping? Just answer
1
questions.
minute. No,
Right
that's
here,
very
recap.
important. Maybe
No, it's
Carrie
not.
has,
It's not.
maybe
It's not.
Carrie has
Be
a
quiet.
logical
You're not
mind.
gonna. You're not gonna
Maybe
dictate how
Carrie
this room
has a
works.
logical mind
You
and
can
he'll
wait.
acknowledge that, you know what? Scott's lawyer was right.
This room is not.
I think we should give him
Run
5
by you.
seconds. We
Relax.
should give, okay,
Hey,
5 seconds. Jason, you got 5 seconds. 1,
Relax.
2,
Carrie, can I explain to you what happened in the last 1 minute? The conversation between me and you.
You have like 5-10 seconds to
Okay,
explain it
thank
really
you.
quick.
I told you this.
Fuck, I want to ask him something.
He can come back up when he comes down. He cannot calm down.
Yeah, bro, you gotta stop with the exciting things.
I
Like,
can't-
oh,
I can't do that.
oh my god. He constantly talks like that. I just want to ask him a few questions.
It's okay, we can bring him up later. Yeah, bro, I don't bring him up, man. He gives me a fucking headache. Go and sit down there.
He is Iranian. His religion is he's a Jewish. That's his religion. He is Iranian, and he is trying to connect himself to Israel. He's trying too hard. That's it.
That's the part I was a little. That was the part I was a little.
His ethnicity, he is Iranian. He is a Persian. His religion, yeah, he's a Jewish. We have Christian Iranian. We have Jewish in Iran. We have Muslim in Iran, and so on. That's
So
it.
that's what I wanted to
I
ask
don't
him.
know why they think it's an ethnicity.
It's okay, let her finish,
It's a
Carrie.
religion.
When that fucker's on the stage, nobody can speak. All he does is barks on that fucking speaker panel. I got a headache, man. That's why I don't allow him on my stages. It's been about a week. He keeps coming in here. I don't bring him up because he's annoying as hell.
His voice is very.
Oh my god.
very
He sounds like a hyena or
whiny,
something.
And it's whining and it's obnoxious and it's just he's arrogant. I mean, I've heard this guy speak before, but everything that
show their lifestyle. They keep talking about how to get the money. I'm rich. I'm this, and then they have a course that's $20,000, and then girls are actually subscribing, and all they're doing is
Everybody's
literally
selling a
start
course.
Amazon FBA. You know what I mean? It's literally just a scam if you're thinking about it, because you're not selling. You're selling a lifestyle. You're selling a lifestyle that you don't really have, and these people are actually paying the lifestyle for paying for these courses.
They're making their money from the courses.
Exactly. Even Andrew Tate
They
BS.
take
Like
that
that.
money and then
Yeah.
they start running a lot of stuff.
That's what I'm saying. Like you
Like,
$10,000 for a course, they're getting on a private jet and telling you, oh, this is how I became a billionaire. Whole time they didn't do anything. You know what I mean?
I don't
They
think
just
you
teach
can end
you.
up selling a course. As long as it's focused on the
Yeah.
billions. You don't see
That's what I'm
that
saying, like, So,
homogenous, more power, or something like that, that it constitutional to racially gerrymander.
No, man. After the Supreme Court struck down,
the Supreme Court upheld it.
no, after the Supreme Court struck down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act, communities of interest, meaning racially homogenous districts, are no longer constitutional. There was a decision that preceded that which said racial gerrymandering in total is illegal. Right? So I can politically gerrymander, right? Like if I have a big city that votes 95% for the Democratic Party, and I'm in a state, I can gerrymander it to dilute that power politically and not be a racial thing, right?
Hey,
So
bro, can you define gerrymandering? I don't know what like. Can you define it?
Gerrymandering simply means the drawing of political districts for congressional representation.
Got you. That's interesting, bro. What about redlining again? Can you define that?
So if I am able to do this correctly, redlining is the racist practice of making sure people can't afford homes by lining them out of the ability to either afford them or rent them or buy them. Now, the Merriam-Webster definition, I can't quote you. I'm quoting you what I think the colloquial definition is. If you've got something to add to that, please do. Always happy to learn.
Always.
So it's like so redlining is like focusing on zip codes that are black people pretty much.
Trying to keep certain people out of certain neighborhoods.
Not giving them like loans, bank loans.
Redlining. It's trying to keep black people in the hood.
We want the black people to stay in the ghetto. We don't want them to come to
by not
our
offering them
neighborhoods.
loans.
Okay?
Yeah,
By not
but
giving them loans.
no, now they got the housing authority in HUD, and so black people are moving into low-income housing on different parts of the city at the expense of the taxpayer.
Banks were not to lend money, pretty much, based on zip code. Don't lend money to these red line places.
Which
They're high risk.
is against Title, somebody help me, 7-6.
Man, nobody cares about none of the laws. Like,
Which one is it?
It's ran by criminals. So you talking about laws and it's illegal. Man, the bank is gonna be like, yo, we're not lending money to these people that are in these certain zip codes. Period. It doesn't matter if it's legal or not.
All right, look at what they're doing in
What are you gonna do
Louisiana.
about it?
All blacks in
You're not
Louisiana.
gonna do anything.
They said, hold
So that's the
on,
whole point.
give us back
Is
that
that it's
damn district.
redlining. It's showing the banks
All
where
right,
to
so,
lend money to.
you know, I guess Gemini and Mimi, they come in here all the time, so they're not playing around with y'all and be
It doesn't
tactful
matter.
and
Just
try
like
to,
Jim
you know,
Crow
not offend
was not
nobody.
constitutional, but it was still a
I
law.
came in here because y'all was
Jim
talking
Crow
shit about
laws are
California
still real.
people. Normally, I don't come in here.
Like fucking 1/5 of a man or something like that.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, Jim Crow is still
You're
legal.
defining
It doesn't matter if
your
it's illegal. It
self-existence
just
as being a
matters who
disposition.
can enforce and prove it's
No, I'm a
not.
confluence. Like, so the genetics and the
You can't
environment
vote your way out of
represent
depression.
like
That's why I said
factors that
I
can
was
be
talking to somebody. I said, listen, man,
articulated
you can't
as
vote your way out of
dispositions.
depression.
Like,
When
I
they
have a
say go
genetic
vote,
need
you go
for
and try to vote
water, right?
on
Based on
Sunday
like the way
morning,
my
and you
biology
get sprayed
works.
down with a
So a
water hose
disposition
and
towards
eaten by
drinking water.
dogs.
Like
That's
they're
the history of this
reflective
country.
of each
Like,
other, and they
people try to
account
vote.
for
Man,
the
you gonna get
biological
bitten by dogs
reality
and
and
sprayed
the
with
actual
water hose.
choices
So
made by the
yeah,
communities.
that's
And again,
the
when we have
Even a modern place, tell me where that's happening. I like.
Yeah, it's happening all the time, bro.
No, that's not what I mean.
Enough about all these snakes on the plane. In Ireland, when St. Patrick finally got the snakes out, it was all about...
That's not what I asked you. I asked you where people getting sprayed with water hoses and chased by dogs.
Oh, I mean, it's changed, but that's the history of this country when it came to voting.
What is the creature? The fact of its existence, living in this timeline.
Yeah, what are you? You're a creature. What does that mean? What is a creature?
It's a metaphysical entity that has the attributes of self-awareness, moral inclinations, and maybe to some degree emotional influence.
Yeah, so yeah, so you're a creature that's aware, that's fine. The awareness isn't gonna, cause anything, but inclinations would be another word for disposition, right? So any inclination you have is just you are a composite of these inclinations.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if that's true, then how does my argument not just follow from that?
Because I'm not constrained to making choices that conform to any of my pre-existing dispositions.
But you said choices are made by an agent, and what an agent is, as you just said, is just something that's aware. That is a confluence of you use the word inclinations, but I think we can substitute dispositions for that. If that's what you are, then it's just dispositions making choices, in effect, right? Is selecting from these choices. So what feels like freedom to you and to most people is the competing, is the competition within your mind, your awareness, right, of these dispositions. That is what libertarian freedom is. It is an illusion, right, where you
one another to be a creature weighing the options and
yeah, because since what you are is a confluence, right, each one is trying to, I guess, for lack of a better understanding, like take the driver's seat in a particular event, right? And like it's kind of like they're arm wrestling, right? Like the stronger one in the moment is going to win out, which doesn't mean the rational one, by the way, right? You might roll over and turn your alarm off and go to sleep and miss your job and get fired and whatever, right? You might cheat on your wife, you might do all these horrible things, but right, there's going to be different dispositions, right, based on different values that you have, and the strength of the stronger disposition is going to win out, which is going to be your choice. So whenever this competition is occurring versus you just do something instinctually, for example, right, that's what feels like freedom. That's why people think they have free will. It's this recursive thought about this competition, right? When we reflect back on this, it seems trivial to us that the other one could have won, right? That we quote unquote, the ego, right? That is an illusion too, right? Could have done otherwise. But you couldn't have done otherwise because you are this competition. That is what you are. You are a competition of wills.
I suppose it's possible, but the problem with your deterministic way of looking at free will is that you're not able to account for the dispositions or choices that
Red from black voters.
Oh, okay.
So what you're referencing are the Southern Democrats when they were hosing down black people, right?
I just didn't know why they were
Southern Democrats
them so bad.
They were doing that in the 1960s. I mean, Jim Crow, the era of Jim Crow, it was all about suppressing voters.
Yeah, and I was saying, Joe, I was saying that Jim Crow wasn't constitutional, but it was enforced.
It was ran by the states, though.
Yeah,
those were state
but
laws.
it was enforced, though. Yeah.
Well, this is what we can say, right? My grandma, right? My mom's mom was born in '57. She lived in the era of Jim Crow, segregation, all that little shit, right? But she was not no slave, right? But I do have, my second great grandmother. She did pick cotton. She was from Alabama, right? So when you're talking about American history is a vast majority of different histories, depending on where your ancestors are from, and it's not the same history.
Hello.
Yeah, my history.
Go to ChicagoMarvo.com.
Kentucky.
This is Mayor O'Kennedy, the Giant Kitover. It's 1:37 a.m. CST. We are listening to the President Trump
However,
House.
they did have slaves, but they fought for the Union. It was called Bloody
Like you to
Kentucky.
share this video.
Family was tore apart. Brothers were killing brothers over it.
It was ruthless. My family did not, though. My family's always been poor. We are one of the poor whites that never owned slaves, like the rich Marshall Rankin family that we've heard about was a plantation owner. But look, you can't just apply that. The biggest holdback is to apply that everyone's history automatically based upon who you're talking to and the color of their skin or how they vote or whatever. It applies to how the history was at one time. It's like, here's a white person. Were they involved with? Was their granddaddy involved with it? Hell, let me tell you what. I don't know if my great grandfather was a racist, but the likelihood of racists existing 100 to 200 years ago is high. I mean, what do you want us to say? Racists still exist today.
We can talk about that. The common denominator is we need free labor or cheap labor. So slavery provided free labor. Like, you don't have to pay them. You can just beat them into submission and they'll just build whatever you want them to build. And then you have Mexicans and illegal immigrants who are cheap labor. Somebody has to do the labor. That's how you get rich, by having servants and people working for you to build your empire. Everybody knows that. And so I don't know why we're talking about nobody realizes the elephant in the room is if you don't have anybody building your dream and working for you, free or cheap, then you're not going to build anything.
That's not the only businesses in the country. In fact, it's not the way most businesses build in this country. If what you're talking about is farm labor, I'll give you an example. I've done it. I picked crops for 3 months. They pay $8.75 an hour, and you
for how long? 3 months. Okay.
And you work until I got a political job, which I usually do. My point being is that these people do this job for about $8.75 an hour, and they do it all the time. There are a lot of people who don't want to do that, but there are also tons of industry.
Amazon for 12 months. Have you ever worked for Amazon for 12 months? That's slave labor.
No, it's fucking not. No, it's not. Hold on. Right, no, it's not. When you use the term slave labor, please bother to be accurate, because words mean things, right? And when you say them, they carry the meaning of
everybody who's black. Everybody who's black said that Amazon is worse than the plantation.
Bro, I know people at Amazon that aren't black and don't say that same shit.
Marshall,
if you're being really honest,
Marshall is a former slave owner himself.
Honest, there aren't people fucking taking these folks. There aren't people taking these folks and whipping them for breaking eggs, putting fucking chains around their genitals. None of that shit.
Holy shit.
What the fuck are you talking about?
So I do really advanced, bro.
Genital change.
No, I'm just irritated when you call actual word slave labor when it's fucking not, because it carries a historical connotation in our country that is evil. If you're going to accuse Amazon of doing evil shit, then you should at least have the evidence to back them up. Or you shouldn't use the terminology because it doesn't fit the actual business model. My God.
Okay, let me ask you a question, Marshall. If you were to go to Amazon and they say, hey, would you like to be like a driver and deliver packages, or would you like to be like a white boy, just looking at a computer, just making sure everything is straight? What job are you going to choose?
The packages. I don't like sitting in offices. That's just me.
It's so intentionally obstinate and
I
annoying.
fucking hate sitting in offices. So I would always take the job to put me out in a different spot.
Well, the white boys who I know that work at like these companies that I know about, they like to sit in the offices, bro. They like walking around as managers. And this is where affirmative action. Listen, did you know that affirmative action has been ended? Like, there's no company that's obligated to hire black people anymore. Like affirmative action is something
Let me do a follow up. Hold on, Galen, before you go down affirmative. That's opening a new thread. You know, let's stay where you're at. Let me ask you a question though. I want to have dialogue with you. The history is important to us, but it's good to look forward to the future. With the rise of AI, which largely is going to affect many white collar office jobs. No race is pun intended or anything. That's just what it's called.
Office jobs held by white people. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Black.
What do you think? What do you think's going to now with all that cheap labor that you referenced is going to be being done soon, largely by automation, computers, robots.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do now when it's going to be a vast majority of Americans if we continue to fight over the past rather than looking at what's facing in the future? How are we going to be able to get through this with the rise of AI?
Yeah, so when you say we, you're talking about white collar jobs. A lot of white collar jobs are held by, Caucasian males. We can all agree on that, right? So the thing is that it's going to affect a lot of Caucasian males, and they're going to be like the white middle class is going to be very, very, very down bad, and they're going to understand how the country actually was using black people as a subject to understand like the tolerance of taking, how to take away certain privileges and resources. And so now that's been protected, now the middle class white people are gonna now feel the wrath of the government and realize the government is not only against black people, but it's against middle class white people.
Well, listen,
I think we've been feeling that wrath.
Yeah. The government is a sovereign entity, a sovereign power.
Trump just said he's going to import over 500,000 Chinese people. He told Xi Jinping that. So why are Chinese investors buying land near military bases? Why is that okay?
And a lot of farmland.
Why? Why are you okay with Chinese investors buying American farmland? Why are you okay with that?
Yeah, that's
nothing.
Why are y'all okay with that? Why are y'all okay with that?
$39 trillion in debt.
Next to military bases? Now you trust China?
Who are we $39 trillion in debt to? Who are we in debt to, bro? When they say $39 trillion in debt, who are we in debt to?
Most of it ourselves, about 30 cents on every dollar to China, about 10 cents on every dollar to Japan. If you really were an international competitor and you wanted to fuck us up, what you would start doing is selling U.S. Treasury debt, right? Which would then make it so that the U.S. couldn't finance other things. But we owe over 50%, over 50 cents on every dollar to ourselves. You have the debt is not been this high. Yes, to ourselves. Every American has something like $250,000 in debt. Not that's an estimation because I'm
$450,000.
Don't take it as an exact fact that it's $250,000, but it's above $200,000.
You know what, Marshall? I'm gonna add you, bro. I gotta talk to you in the back channel, bro.
And as far as other countries, there's no such thing as debt when you have the strongest military. What are they really going to do?
Man, the struggle.
Well, of course there's such a thing as debt. The British Empire was once the strongest military on the face of the earth. When the pound devalued and fell out of its
Roman Empire.
It became the U.S. dollar. So spending more than you take in, spending more than you can borrow, spending more than you can pay back, always fucking matters.
Marshall.
There's never a case where it doesn't matter.
Let me ask Marshall, who's the last president that left with surplus when he left office?
Bill Clinton in the federal budget.
Exactly. And who after that was a Republican president that caused the largest deficit?
Full of dollars and backed by gold.
Largest debt would have been under George W. Bush.
It was. He had to listen.
What I'm saying is this.
Yeah, but you gotta think about like 9/11, like with Al Gore in 2000 with Al Gore.
What happened now? We went and invaded
Hold
the
on,
country.
One second.
Why
What I'm saying
are we
is
in
that
war now? Don't compare it to what the fuck?
No, what I'm saying is that
9/11.
No, listen to what I'm saying. Is that back in 2000 when George Bush was trying to run for office, he was running for office as president, and Al Gore won in Florida. That was, and then guess what?
That's
They
when
said
the
it was
ballots.
hanging. They said it was a hanging chad.
Yeah, I remember that shit. That was the cheat.
And then what happened was George Bush was able to turn over Florida through the hanging chad. And then once he got in office, guess what? The World Trade Center. So now, watch this. Now looking back at Dick Cheney,
Israel. I'm sorry.
and all of these things. No.
It was.
The war in Iraq. The war in Iraq.
didn't have anything to do with now.
Don't Marshall.
Yeah. Stop.
You know that. Listen, that's disingenuous.
Bro, you're talking nonsense.
No, it's not. The terrorists were a bunch of fucking Saudis, Afghanis, and Egyptians.
Don't do that, boy.
That ain't anything to fucking do with this.
Here's what I'm doing. I'm walking you guys down through history.
I know you're supposed to. No,
I should be blessed to have me in this call right now.
9/11 loose change.
You should be blessed to have me in this call, but even entertain this. But what I'm trying to say is this: is that in 9/11 would not have happened if it wasn't for George Bush being president. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that it's not.
George Bush did everything his dad told him to.
No.
George Bush was a stoner that didn't even want to be president.
That's not true. Bin Laden sponsored very specifically was
You think that 9/11 would have? You think that 9/11 would have
Saudi
happened?
Arabia.
Hold on. You think 9/11 would have happened with Al Gore being president?
Galen,
With Al Gore being president, you think 9/11 would have happened?
Can anybody get to work other than
You think that 9/11 would have happened with Al Gore being
Mod is
president?
speaking. Hey, hold up. Mod is speaking. Look, one mic. I know this is a hot topic. One mic. We're gonna go Galen, then back to Yo. Make your points. Pass the mics. Don't hog them.
Okay, what I'm saying is this: is that in 2000, right, the year 2000, Al Gore and George Bush were going up against presidency. Al Gore was like, "Yo, we need to do energy, all this stuff." The deciding vote for the presidency was Florida, and what happened was there was a hanging chad on the voting. So it said that Al Gore won Florida, but then they went back and retracted it. And then they said that George Bush won Florida because of the hanging chad. So now, what I'm saying is this: is that 9/11 would have never happened if Al Gore was president. That's what I'm saying. Now, here's the point. Looking back at George Bush and Dick Cheney going to war, 9/11 happened, all these things happening, the weapons of mass destruction, military. Guess what? Who got rich? Dick Cheney and George Bush got rich.
Halliburton.
That's what actually happened.
That's just not true. The United States had an intelligence unit. The United States had an intelligence unit.
Galen, let him respond.
Intelligence units tracking Bin Laden for most of the 1990s. We had intelligence. There was a big attack coming. Wouldn't have mattered whether it was Al. Wouldn't have mattered whether it was George W. Bush. The fucking Al Qaeda was set on attacking us. And it was a group of fucking Saudis, Egyptians, and Afghanis. And they had the international financing from. I'm not done. They had the international financing from Saudi princes, which we never went after directly after 9/11, from people in Egypt, and from some in Sudan. And that pioneered and paid for under Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who was the architect of 9/11. They started putting that shit together in the early 1990s after the original attack on the U.S. Trade Center with the gentleman in 1993.
93.
Yeah. So
Okay,
this is
so hold
this
on.
is not this is not this is not something
So you're
that has
saying,
this is not
Marshall,
Bro,
Marshall,
listen,
you're
listen,
saying,
hold on.
What the fuck?
Hold on. This is not something that had to do with who was president. It was an attack that had been in the works for a decade.
So, guess what? That means the
it doesn't matter who was president, right?
Fuck, man. That means that CIA they had intelligence on the attack prior to the attack, right? And guess what? The thing is this though, there are certain people who knew, who didn't go to work that day, right? Who were there every fucking day. But for that day, they just happened to not show up. They told them not to go there. And then for some reason, they talk about the Twin Towers, but they never talk about Building 7, which is directly behind the Twin Towers. How the fuck did that blow up? Was that
I don't know, but that doesn't mean it was rigged, which is what you're. It doesn't mean it was rigged, which is what you're fucking insinuating.
What I'm saying is that are you saying that Marshall?
Building 7 was
Hold
there.
on.
And the thing is, it was incinerated for what?
I'm talking
Because
about
it heals and what it does.
Marshall.
Yes, and I'll answer the question. Yes, I'm saying it didn't matter.
Are you saying that are you saying that 9/11 would have happened with Al Gore being president?
Yes, because the attack by Khalid Sheikh Mohammed had been designed in 94 and 95. They'd been putting financing to work for 6 years prior to the 9/11 attacks.
Right, so why did George Bush fight against Al Gore so hard to become president? Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Wait, why are you connecting the two? They don't have anything to do with each other.
No, I'm saying, you're saying that it doesn't matter who was president, 9/11 was going to happen anyway. That's what you said, Marshall.
Yeah, so I'm confused. I'm confused as to like what fighting for the presidency has to do with that.
I'm telling you it would not have happened if Al Gore was president.
And I'm telling you it had been in the works for a decade and it absolutely would have happened because there wasn't anything
all right.
Because there wasn't anything Al Gore or George W. Bush could have done.
Sorry. I was there. Can I speak? Listen, I was there. I remember what Bush said. This is because, right? You know, we were there in Desert Storm to invade Kuwait. And, you know, Saddam Hussein was always the target. Even though Osama bin Laden was the one who blew the towers up. And he was in Afghanistan. But for some reason, we invade Iraq. Right? A sovereign country who we didn't, you know, have no beef with at that time. And a lot of things that people don't know about Iraq prior to that shit.
Yes, but you're connecting two things which are not connected.
Well,
hold on. George W. Bush connected them in the trying to get the American people behind it. But the two attacks were not connected other than that tangential.
So why bring it up? So why invoke your father and his
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is
Marshall,
after Afghanistan.
Why do Americans gotta die for Israel? I told him question. Why do Americans gotta fucking die for Israel?
We didn't fucking die for Israel in 9/11. We died because they fucking didn't like us.
You want to invade Yemen. You want to invade Jordan.
We're not invading Yemen or Jordan, and nobody ever fucking said that.
You're literally setting up properties in the West Bank. You're trying to sell properties separate.
Stay on top of the conversation.
No, I'm not, because this is what it comes down to.
This field goes all over this clubhouse room.
When she said the goalpost is being moved really quickly. The goalpost is like Shaggy and Scooby chasing a ghost. Bruh, right now, bro, like, Marshall, I'm telling you, bro, if Al Gore was president, 9/11 would not have happened, bro. And I'm telling you that with all due respect. Marshall, if Al Gore, that's why Al Gore was trying to fight so hard to become president. And you're saying that, oh, you know with 100% certainty that if Al Gore was president, 9/11 would have happened. Are you crazy?
Dude,
No. I'm stupid. Hold on. Let's engage on the substance because let's engage on the substance because that's not what I said.
So if Al Gore was president,
hold on.
9/11 would have happened.
Dude, hold on. You got to engage with the substance because that's not what I said. What I said was the Al Qaeda attacked the United States in 1993 at the World Trade Center bombings. That shortly after, in the spring of '94, into '95 and '96, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed planned the attack on the World Trade Centers, meaning put together the plan for it. They then spent the next 5.5 to 6 years getting financing for that plan. So the plan was in existence long before George W. Bush or Al Gore ever decided to stick their hat in the ring. My point is not that Al Gore would have been a better or lesser president.
No, I didn't say that. I said that 9/11 would have never happened.
Okay. Well, then let's address that with what I just said. You need to engage with substance. What I just said was, this had been a plan in the works for at least 7 years with a total financing time period of about 5 years, right? That means that it wasn't George W. Bush and it wasn't Al Gore, it was Al Qaeda planning on their own timetable when they were going to attack us and who. They decided on 2001 as a thing. It wasn't because George W. Bush was the president that they attacked. It wasn't because it wasn't because no, I didn't say you should. I didn't say you should.
What? Hold on.
I didn't. No.
Let me ask you a question.
Hold on. You need to engage with the substance.
Who got rich because of
You need to engage with the substance of what I said, not what you wish I
can get rich because of 9/11.
Bro, you need to engage with the substance. You need to engage. No. You need to engage with the substance. The substance is.
No, I'm telling you,
the substance is that these people planning and financing these attacks for the better of 10 years. You need to engage with that, otherwise your point of view doesn't make any sense.
You're not making sense though, bro. It's like saying, alright, Trump just made the cartels a terrorist organization, nigga. Right?
No, I'm talking about George Bush. Me and this man Marshall are talking.
Dude. If they decided they wanted to do some shit, they can do it. How would we fucking know? We would. That's the point. You wouldn't.
I'm trying to shoot the fade with Marshall right now.
In office. If they wanted to do something, they'll do it.
No, it does matter who's in office. That's the whole point. Because I'm trying to tell Marshall. I told Marshall. I said, who got rich over 9/11? George Bush or Al Qaeda? George Bush and Dick Cheney got rich over.
I mean, Al Qaeda became the government for Afghanistan after. So
Al Qaeda did not. The Taliban did. There's a difference between.
George Bush got rich.
Hold on. There's a difference.
Dick Cheney got rich.
Hold on. There's a difference between the Taliban government, which were a group of what's known as Chalese or studiers. They got financed in the Soviet-Afghan War by the United States, and the group Al Qaeda, who were funded mostly by Saudi and Egyptian interests. Right? Al Qaeda comes out of the Afghan-Soviet War, Bin Laden leaving and participating. But Al Qaeda is not the official government of Afghanistan and has never been so. Mullah Omar, the nominal Taliban commander, gave Al Qaeda sanctuary in Afghanistan after they were kicked out of Sudan. Right? So they were never a major part of the government. They weren't a major part of the government during the war, and they're not a major part of the government now.
Hello, I have a question. If I want to send an email to Mr. Trump, is it any email address available, or you have to put a message on the White House?
So what you need to do is you need to go to the White House website.
I need it for 4,000. Is that right? You can just
Yes. My best suggestion, if you really want to get a message to the president, is find somebody below the level of president to send it to. Typically a staffer or a scheduler. The lower the staffer is, or the more available the scheduler's information means that you're going to have a chance. But what it really means is you're going to have to send an email, and then you're going to have to make sure you call and introduce yourself. Hey, I'm not sure of your name. Hey, I'm Mr. Rankin. I emailed you about this concern. If you could pass it on, I would really appreciate it. Be aware you may get a form letter. So there are templates in there. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, Matt has a connection to Trump through this house. So if you leave the message with us, we can get it to him.
I didn't know the Trump House and the Clubhouse had any relation to the Trump administration campaign.
Yeah, so just go ahead and tell us what your message is, and we can.
Bro.
What's your message?
I want to send an email to him about the situation of the Iran and just explain a couple of things to him about the what's happening in Iran and what's the maybe benefit for the U.S. and Iran both, at the same time.
Well, can you go into more details?
Yeah, but probably I like to send email, not just that.
Well, yeah. So what you would do is right away. Hey, Mr. President, my name is Marshall. I'm really interested in Iran, and you probably have people in your work that tell you this stuff, and I imagine you've got access to all sorts of information. This is the way I would say it, not the way you would say it. You got access to all sorts of information, but I really feel like you should be aware of this piece about Iran. The people think this way specifically, right? And forward that to somebody forward that to the Trump House, but also do what I did, cover all of your bases. Do the Trump House, do what I suggested, and it's more than likely that your message gets transmitted. Now, whether the executive does what you ask is a totally different thing. The man gets told what to do all the time. I mean, 24 hours a day, the man gets told what to do. So don't expect him to take every piece of advice. But if you got something real substantive, from what I've heard about people who work with him, if you get the message to somebody that can introduce it, he usually takes stuff seriously from citizens or from people who have worries. He's far nicer private than he is in public, right? Apparently he's much more comprehensive. He can explain a lot more stuff to you than he does in public. As Joe says, explained at a fifth grade level, right? Which is probably why he talks the way that he talks. But if you got anything interesting to send to him, he does take constituents, from what I know, and Matt Beaver, correct me if I'm wrong, but he does take those sorts of things seriously. I don't know if he writes back to every letter, but I do know he takes letters every day and reads them.
I mean, this could, Omid, if you have something that could really change the dynamics of this war in Iran, you should definitely let the president know.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Hey, Beaver, I sent you a little message, but I just want to say this real quick. So I know a couple people in here heard me saying that I'm from a founding father's descent line. But I went down the rabbit hole, but I'm a confirmed fourth cousin, 7 times removed of Jared Ingersoll. So,
dude, that's fucking ass. That's some badass shit, man.
Yeah, and I'm also a mogul myself in the music industry. And what's unfortunate is that we got written out of history because for some weird reason, but my second great grandmother was basically half white and half French and black somehow, but her mom made it to the French Huguenots as well. So it's just a lot of stuff that I uncovered from the ancestry rabbit hole. But Story Scout verified this connection.
You ever read about the French Huguenot massacre in Paris? Well, I don't know if it was in Paris, but it was in France. Did you ever read about that? They slaughtered.
I have to look into it.
Dude, they slaughtered something like 30,000 Huguenots in a day. Like in a single 12-hour period, they killed 30,000 people. They're just like it's insane. Right? Like the ability without a firearm to kill that many people in a day is just astonishing.
Crazy, man. But I think this history, like something like that, this was a connection that was gate kept, right? And I also went down the rabbit hole and seen that the Church of Latter-day Saints was lying about. They were trying to what they really did, and I haven't really exposed the story yet, but I am gonna break this story in soon enough. But they were trying to commit genealogical erasure, and what Ancestry's DNA Story Scout did was found the error that they were trying to hide. So I know the whole tree. So even if Jared Ingersoll's, because I popped up on their ancestry. So I'm also related to the Baldwins. This bloodline also created Abraham Baldwin as well, who's also a constitutional signer. So nonetheless, though, this connection also goes back to the 1600s. To the early English settlers in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and stuff like that. But of course, Jared Ingersoll was from Philadelphia, and this was my 5th grade grandmother's on record confirmed 4th cousin. You feel me? So, and my 3rd great grandfather was a Kellogg, who's also a cousin to the cereal moguls as well. You feel me? So.
This man is a Kellogg cereal?
And stuff like that.
Oh my God, he's a cereal mogul.
Records, and they changed names and locations and XYZ. But they were hoping, they were trying to hide this line, basically. This must have been some sort of family secret that we've uncovered. But we know the truth now, so. But I think knowing this, because most of my life I didn't know this, so I think knowing it now, I think, like I said, I'm proud to be an American. You know what I'm saying? Like, this ancestor wasn't a slave, though. You know what I'm saying? Like, my grandmother, my 2nd great grandmother wasn't a slave. And she even identified as white. She had blue eyes. You feel me? Because her parents were European, so, you know what I'm saying? But, this was the history they tried to hide. And this is actually my grandmother's father's mother on my mom's side. And I've met my grandfather. He passed in the early 2000s in like 04, but I met him one time too.
Young Jay, do you come from a family of any descendants of Creole?
Yeah, I actually got some Louisiana family. I actually do.
Is that comes from the line of the lady you're referencing?
No, interestingly enough, so the Kellogg's lived in Mississippi, and that's where I guess she was born at, I assume. But after that, I'm assuming they also moved to California because it's a census record and stuff like that. It says that, and her mom was a Lafayette, so she was like a Canadian French woman. She was from Whiteside, Chicago, Illinois. I think
everybody on this motherfucking app.
Kellogg, he was from I think Westminster, Ohio, or something like that.
I have a question about Creole. Just based off, I don't know if it's the same. I don't really do a lot of history, but I just stayed up one night recently looking up those little islands by Alaska because I like traveling to places, remote places and shit. And I guess the natives from Alaska and Russia, like on that little area, were called Creole also. I don't know if that's where, I don't know how people get anywhere. I'm just curious if it's the same people. If anybody knows.
I'm not an expert on this, but I guess I can try. I don't know about the people in the islands of Alaska. When I was referencing the Creole, that would have been people from Louisiana.
Yeah, I was just curious. It's like, because I've heard of Creole people, and then these ones are more like Native American looking one. I don't know, like Native Alaskan, whatever looking people. So I was just curious if they have any type of relation.
So I'm still trying to piece together the French descendants in North America, and the Huguenots come up through Canada and then go down through the Mississippi River. And then there was a French colony, everyone's familiar with, there in New Orleans. And one side of the French hated the other side of the French, and it still stemmed from the French Revolution. And it's always interesting talking to people that have French relatives and where they lie, you know, trying to figure out where they came into North America based upon how their families shook out after the French Revolution.
Yeah, if you PTR right here, you can see what I'm saying. So what I am saying is, I come from Jared Ingersoll's direct family, so his cousins eventually created my bloodline, basically. So I do not descend from him directly, but I'm a lot relative than his actual direct descendants, like than his grandchildren. And it's because it's something called a long generation. So if somebody waits to have kids, the DNA doesn't get as diluted, which in turn you would get more of this DNA. But my second great grandmother was born in the early 1900s. So her parents were born. Her father was born in the 60s or 50s, and her mom was born in the 1860s. So, and her mom lived all the way until 1950, until she was 80-some years old. And they also lived in California. You feel me? So we seen the census record. That's how we know.
You got me wanting to do one of the DNA things.
Yeah, you never know. And I also asked I use the AI that I would choose. I choose Google Gemini, but I asked it how rare is it that you would find something like this, and really statistically most people that test would never find out that they're close to somebody like this, or like an actual close in that kind of way. So this is kind of like a cool, fascinating piece of history, right? And most of my life I didn't really know this, but when I went down the rabbit hole and I went on family tree genealogy, which Ancestry is also partnered with the Church of Latter-day Saints, right? But Ancestry doesn't care about race and whatever. It cares about the truth, right? And what you can't do is alter biological history. So like I was telling somebody in the chat, life comes from life. So although that I'm more African today, I do have full European ancestors. You know what I'm saying? So, and they weren't, this wasn't something that had anything to do with slavery either. Because my grandmother was the only child. So, but I do think because she was mixed in certain things, they used different aliases and different little stuff like that to stay under the radar. And plus because her father was a Kellogg, they probably didn't want to, and his cousins were out in, Michigan or whatever, wherever they were at, becoming serial moguls, that he probably didn't, want the pressure of that family name to, weigh them down or just kind of, pressure them in any kind of way. But that same reason is why they tried to erase this out of history. So you gotta go down the rabbit hole. You gotta see, who the people in your DNA matches are your family. And it is some kind of connection to these people, or you wouldn't share DNA with them at all. So it's worth finding out.
So you were mentioning lightly about it changed your perception of, was it the country or the founding?
Yeah,
or
like I think
your patriotism. Tell us more about that.
Even just what I've accomplished and what I've done in my own, like kind of how I look at being an independent, sovereign power in the music industry. Because my ancestor believed in sovereignty. You know what I'm saying? Jared Ingersoll fought the Chisholm versus whatever case or whatever. He was the judge over that case. You know what I'm saying? So he believed in independence and the government not having so much control over the people, and I could agree with that, and I see a lot of those similarities. And me and him actually kind of look a little similar too. I can tell that we're family. I could tell we're cousins for sure.
Fascinating.
Very interesting piece of history, but with something like that, the reason why that would be something that's hidden is because it would taint the purity of whatever the American story is, which they would love to say that the founding fathers or or their descendants didn't intermix with black people. That's a damn lie, and it wasn't nothing to do with slavery either. People willingly did this. I want to say I don't know who was more African, but somebody had to earlier in that period had to been half black, which is a white passing black person. Somebody had to been. I just don't know what ancestor. Whether it was Harriet Lafayette or was it George Ward Kellogg.
How far you made it?
Oh, go ahead, Short.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, AJ, PC, bro, how far you made it back in your French? You navigated through French yet, or you haven't chosen?
I think so. What I have done, because I have my ancestry, like my raw DNA put inside of my heritage as well. So I have looked that name up also, because you can search these names inside of the search bar and see if any DNA matches come up. I have found some Lafayette that still live in France. I haven't reached out to him yet, but I look forward to it soon.
Approximately what year did you make it to on your French lines?
I mean, well, as far as this relation to this person, to Jared Ingersoll, we trace that back to the 1600s, to early English settlers. So we trace this back like to before America, pre-colonial America. So when you want your reparations cut, shit. Hey, look, even if it did, I could get inside of the what is it, the descendants of signers, and then my fifth great grandmother, her father was a World War I veteran, so I can get into the Brothers of American Revolution. I have the paper trail to prove it, and the DNA verified facts to prove it.
France was a mess. I read them stories about what them folks had to do to get up out of France. Run, flee for their life. It's like, damn. I was reading one book. One of the guys, I think he was somewhat being convicted of hearsay. He knew that they was coming for him, so he had his wife put together a house party. And in the middle of the night, he snuck out the back door and got on the boat and came to America and then married. What was that lady name? God dog it. I cannot remember her name. But he ended up marrying this one lady, and that lady ended up sharing with her granddaughter, and her granddaughter wrote a second edition of the book and rewrote the preface explaining, what actually happened, with her grandfather. So, folks had some crazy stories back then, man. She wasn't peaches and cream just because you was European.
All I say is, man, it's worth doing the history, man. Do your research, man. It's two sides to history, right? It's the side of the history that that you were told by your loved ones, and it's the truth, right? So, while doing these DNA tests, just understand it maybe some things you find out, maybe some family that never knew you existed, and vice versa. So just be prepared for that. Be prepared for people not to really believe you're related to them for whatever reason, even if you do know. And but it's better to know because guess what? You share genetic material with these people. You share a common ancestor with these people, right? And with a lot of these ancestry tests now, it can pre-screen you for health problems, right? So even if you didn't know where a certain sickness came from, you might be able to find out or prevent certain things from happening based on your genetic markers, because that plays a big role in a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm down. I definitely do the genealogy. I'm not really a fan of the DNA test, but the using the records to find family members.
I mean, we're just talking about like matches, right? Like what I was bringing up with Ancestry Story Scout. That's basically an AI that if something within your biological story doesn't make sense, or like what, or if just something doesn't make sense, maybe a time frame with what Ancestry Story Scout is going to do is find the best biological solution that makes logical sense, right? Because
So you took your DNA test results and threw it into that AI,
no,
and improved it?
It does it by itself.
Oh, okay.
But see, like I said again, most people that take these tests won't find out that they're a close relative of like a Constitution signer. Because like I said, I don't descend from Jared Ingersoll himself. I descend from his close family. So I have that same foundational DNA that he had. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm also more of a closer relative to him genetically also than his actual direct descendants. Because the generations removed is a difference between 50 to 100 years. So somebody that's like a fifth cousin, 4 times removed, they're like 200 to 300 generations removed from me, just or wherever my common ancestor is with this person. So their DNA is a lot less, original compared to the DNA that I have, if that makes sense. But the point of the matter is that,
Man, it don't make no fucking sense. I don't know what you talking about, dog.
one of his closest living relatives. And like I said, this is just something that got genealogically erased, but we corrected it. Right now I'm just taking a little break because I know the Church of Latter-day Saints is kind of in the hot seat right now. So I'm taking a break before I break the story, but it's coming out. You know what I'm saying? And and hopefully this ends racism. This story. You see, it's cat, but you can't argue with biological history and genealogical history.
Facts. So what do the Mormons have to do with it? I'm just curious.
Because
I work in solar, so I
guess like manage these like Find the Grave, all these different sites. They manage these sites and give these sites the API information that it has, and even if it's false information. So it's people on there that they call them fucking like contributors or something, right? But these are people that have no fucking direct relation to you or none of your ancestors, that will change stuff about your ancestor to disconnect you from these kind of prestigious lines if you do have a connection. Yeah. This is what these people do. The reason why is one, so you don't know the relation, and two, maybe so you can't ask for some kind of inheritance if you want to submit. If you were entitled to one, they wrote you out of inheritance. You see what I'm saying? So it's just shit like that now. And the reason why I know they're in the hot seat is right when I expose all this and I end up in a back and forth through email and stuff like that. And they're trying to tell me that I'm not, I guess you got to be 5 generations from the person. I'm like, well, motherfucker, this is my second great grandmother. I'm not talking about somebody else. I mean, yeah, even though I was born in 97, my grandparent was born, my great grandfather was born in the 30s. He was born in 37. You feel me? So that's not that far back. And I met my great grandfather. I met a lot of my great grandparents.
They said you had to be
some old, some young.
For what?
guess, manage these memorials. Yeah, for me to manage these memorial graves that's posted on these sites, but the people that's managing these sites have no direct DNA verification to these people. And see, these kind of prestigious families, they have money to do shit like that, to have researchers disconnect, and best believe when we took a test in 2020 or whatever, they see me pop up on their radar. And this family also has historical gravesite burial plots as well. You know what I'm saying? So it's deep, and I think it's in what I want to say, New Haven, Massachusetts, somewhere in Massachusetts, 40 miles outward. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere out the way. But the point I'm making is, you ask why would they do it? Well, the question is, why wouldn't they? If this was always a family secret or something, maybe that even though they knew their ancestor did it willingly, they might not have been proud, right? So they're like, you know what? If they were just hoping that this line didn't thrive and survive, but we here. That's all.
Yeah, then Mormons, man. Mormons love nation. Just, as somebody who not only deals with them texting me all the time, trying to get me to come to church, but they're just really on point and they're very persistent and they're all about what they're all about. I have some sales guys in the solar industry. I'm in the operations side. I was an installer, but once I got to management, I started meeting salespeople. Showed up to one of their parents' wife's dad's house or something to check it out, to do a ground mount system there. And they had 3 ADUs, and each ADU was just a room with 12 bunks all on the wall, like military buildings. So they just come out here from Utah to California, sell a bunch of solar, and then go back. So it's they're just in there selling solar, collecting everybody's information. They want you to come to church and be your friend and shit. They're very on the rise.
Yeah, this is no game. And see, when I break this story, I'm also going to bring up the fact that they tried to lie, right? The Church of Latter-day Saints, because they were behind hiding this information, right? And it's funny because their own AI, because they're partnered with Ancestry too, still discovered this. So I'm sitting here arguing with somebody on fucking Family Search or whatever. And they're like, oh, you made a threat to somebody. No, I didn't. I told this motherfucker if they don't stop lying, I'm going to report it. I'm not making a threat. I'm making you a promise. You're disrespecting a founding father's descendant line. It's not going to end good for you. Period, point blank. Because guess what? My second great grandmother deserves her real story to be told. You know what I'm saying? Not a fabricated story. They're trying to connect her to some people from fucking Texas. We don't have no connections to people over there. And the people there are saying her parents were born in the fucking later 1800s, 88 or 18, whatever. They would have been kids themselves. There's no way biologically they could have had her. So that was the first lie that a DNA, one of these people that detaches people from these lines does. You know what I'm saying? And see, they probably already knew that someday we would find this out. And I think the Kellogg family as well, because we're connected to them. I think they recently sold the brand 5 years ago, probably around the time where I took that test, when they sold the brand. So like I said, it's a lot bigger than what you think. Of course, it's historical erasure and it's also genealogical erasure by record. So you gotta go down the rabbit hole, find the records, find the matches, see the names, all that, And if you don't see it on one platform, you can go to another one and take a test there and put your raw DNA in the other one and search those names over there. If you see something, then that tells you what you need to know, right? And see, it's a lot of family secrets. So
that makes sense. Hey, I have a question for Pepe or Beaver or any of the mods. Are you guys there? I take it not. Bro, comparing me to Hitler is weird. I don't hold the same views, not in the same party, don't think the same thing. I don't understand I asked you several times nicely. I don't understand why you have to compare me to these people when we argue. I never invalidate your ideas, and I don't compare you to evil people. It's just a little bit weird. All I gotta say.
Hey Marshall, you see the post that came out saying that the money was falling America unite. It's not the United Nations. It's the global oil.
You're not talking about the Nazi government funding the League of Nations, which wouldn't fall apart before the Nazi government was ever replaced. Is that what you mean?
No. I'm talking about like some of the current events.
Oh.
Today. Yeah. I was watching hold on, let me I'll get back to you.
By the way, I really appreciated that old book on sovereignty. It's like in my digital library now, and I can refer to it whenever I need. I always love having reference books like that.
Oh no, I'm actually writing the brief. I'm intervening as a third party.